In this tutorial, I want to show you how I made this little gummed watercolor pads. So all these three sides have glue, which makes it easy for me to draw with the watercolor without having to worry about the buckling. And you might be thinking, well, you can just buy the existing product that comes with the gummed sides. But the issue is that a lot of the gummed watercolor pads are big and expensive, which adds a lot of pressure into the creative process. To counter that, I came up with the idea of using cheaper materials to make smaller watercolor pads for me to do little studies. All right, let me show you how I did it. All the materials will be listed in the description. Over here, I have watercolor pads. This is student grade. It's not too expensive. And you will also need the cutting mats and X-Acto knife. I am using this paper slicer, so this will help me to slice paper more accurately, but you can easily replace this just with cutting mat and X-Acto knife. You will also need some bookbinding glue. Over here, I have this pH neutral PVA glue, and you will also need an old brush. Over here, I have a brush just for the glue. Both of these materials I have bought for a bookbinding project. This bottle lasts for a long time. So if you can divide how many watercolor pads you can make out of this glue, it's definitely worth the investment. And I also have some clips. This one is kind of muscular version of the binder clip. And you can also use these clips. Because of the watercolor pads are not super thick, so you can just use it to keep shape. All right, let's get started. I'm gonna tear one page off. And you do wanna know what is the right side of the paper. So when you stack the paper, you wanna make sure they are facing one direction. So what I'm gonna do here is to cut my pages in 4. A little trick here is to not cut them exactly. I will show you why. Over here, I have a stack that I have cut earlier. I kind of just stagger them with a shorter length and a longer length. You can see because there is a length difference between each page, so even pages are shorter, odd pages are longer, it makes it easier for me to separate the pages. So after these page is done with the watercolor, I can easily just find that page and just take it off. Just a little trick here. I'm gonna cut this in just a little bit over half, which will be something like this. By the way, this is 12 inches by 9 inches. Depending on your paper, you can do the math. That's my first cut. You can see that they don't completely match, which is by design. However, the second cut, when I cut widthwise, I am going to match exactly, because you do want the opposing sides of the width of your pad align. So this has to be exactly half. In this case, I am cutting it to 4 and 4.5. All right, this will be 1 unit. If I've done this right, which I think I did, you can see over here, I have 2 longer pages and 2 shorter pages. And I know this is the top, so I'm gonna put it aside. But instead of making you watch me cut this paper 4 different times, I have a little stash right here. So this is what I have cut already ahead of time, and this one is ready for glue. If you're new to this channel, my name is Esther Narioshi. I am a full-time illustrator based in the US. And I also teach great online classes with 45,000 students around the world with 1.5 million minutes watched. This fall, I'm launching my signature course called Esther's Art Lab, which is a place where you can learn fluid workflow from traditional to digital. The waitlist is open and the course will be launching this fall, 2025. All right, back to our process. You can clean up the edges a bit more. This is the original glue that it had from the original packaging. I don't want this side to be the beginning side, so I'm gonna keep this one at the bottom like that. I want the gluing side to be clean so that it will grab onto my glue better. Kind of like shuffling the cards, you want to make sure everything is aligned. And then as soon as you're ready, let me just do it a couple more times just in case. All right, as soon as you're ready, you want to change the orientation. So I know this is the bottom. So instead of putting the glue on 4 sides and giving yourself a hard time taking it off, I'm gonna only glue it on 3 sides. So I will do this left, top, and the right. So I'm gonna use this clamp to hold everything in position. You can also add another clamp. Although it's a little bit tricky because you will need this side to be covered with glue as well. So I'm gonna leave it out for now. Sometimes the top of the glue tip is blocked. So you might wanna use something like needle-shaped things to unclog it. Hopefully this one will work. So I'm just gonna line this side with glue. Like that. Looks like the end is a little fraying, so I'm gonna clamp the other side as well. And I will just go ahead and brush the glue evenly onto different pages. And then you want to work on the other side. Notice that the watercolor pads are for practicing, so you will see, unless you're super duper accurate, some of the glue will go on the page, which I think is really fun because it gives your work an organic edge. I don't have to be perfect, I can just start. Because to be honest, I have a fancy commercial watercolor set that I bought from, watercolor pets I bought from Amazon, and it has been sitting there for years because I always thought my idea is not worthy to break open the watercolor pads. So hopefully by using cheaper material, your brain will allow you to create. There you go. Just a recap, we have the glue on the left, top, and the right side. I'm leaving the bottom open, so this will help me to detach when the time comes. Now I'm gonna attach another clamp onto the other side. Now here comes the fun part, which is waiting. But thankfully, I have another 2 that I've made 12 hours ago. So I'm gonna set this aside and show you what I got here. You do wanna cap the glue so it doesn't clog another time. Here's another one I have already finished. The glued sides are all dry. And this only took me less than 24 hours. And you can already use it for your watercolor creation. So here's a quick piece that I have just finished. I did use a heat gun, which will dry everything faster, which I also find it tends to make the paper buckle more. But you can see, because we have 3 out of the 4 sides taped, it's still pretty flat. The only thing of this method by using this gummed sides DIY thing is that you will see that sometimes the paint will go to the next page. But still, this is perfect for just quick studies. All right, here is a butter knife that I have at home. When you use something that could potentially hurt you, just make sure that you're not pointing to yourself. So if this side suddenly open, it doesn't point to you. So I am going to just wedge my way and slowly open like that. I mean, you will have to do this with the gummed pads, the store-bought gummed pads anyways. So just make sure your hands, any body parts are out of the knife's way. If anything, I would say this way is the DIY version is easier to open than the commercial bought version. There you go. All right. So now you can see this is a very flat piece of watercolor art, and you can keep going with the next page. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and go draw something awesome today. See you in the next video.